Broncos country, Courtland Sutton's giving us some great news today. He's saying, just like what Sean Payton was saying on Tuesday, that he's going to be at mandatory Broncos minicamp next week. Phenomenal. Just getting into town. I'm going to break it down for you, give you my thoughts. Be sure to smash that like. We're on our way to 2,000 subs, so hit that subscribe. And of course, guys, most importantly, you got to let me know what you're thinking about this in the comments. Fantastic news today. So let's go ahead and get into it, courtesy of our friends over at DNVR Broncos. Link to the show is in the description. I'll throw it in the comments as well. Y'all be sure to go watch the whole interview and smash that like over there as well. But Courtland Sutton spoke with the DNVR crew, which was great, and it was awesome, man. They're really buttering him up before they started asking some of the tough questions later on, and I think it might have been the second to last or the last question in the interview. Zach and Henry, I can't remember who asked it, but they asked, Courtland, will you be at minicamp? And Courtland said, absolutely. I'm going to be there. He said this situation's been really tough, but he will be there. And one of the big things that I took away from this interview, one, he kept saying we. You can tell that he is invested in this team. He's not looking to go anywhere else. And that's what I like. I see Courtland Sutton as that veteran wide receiver to help out a young quarterback, okay? For instance, taking a look at Bryce Young last year, hey, Adam Thielen, he's not exactly a top 15 wide receiver anymore, but he's a darn good security blanket for a young quarterback, and that's who I really want Bo Nix to have, or that's somebody that I want Bo Nix to have. And I think Courtland Sutton can be that security blanket, especially this year. So, again, I don't see what the issue is with only 15% of his salary guaranteed. I understand why he hasn't been at voluntary workouts. Hey, if you tear your Achilles, like we saw with Drew Sanders, man, you're losing 85% of your paycheck this year. So it's good that he'll be back for all the mandatory stuff. I think he'll be fine. I didn't want to enter minicamp with any distractions. That's how I felt about this. And if this was going to continue on past that, then maybe you look to trade him. But I'm hopeful that a restructure or some sort of change to the deal can get done. Again, I got no problem if the Broncos want to move on after this season, but I do think that something needs to change where he's given a little bit higher of a percentage with his guarantees this year and considerably underpaid. Again, when you're talking about 15% of your salary being guaranteed. And he didn't even realize a lot of his contract early on too, because a high percentage of that was still non-guaranteed and he missed with an ACL, whatnot. So if I'm remembering the years correctly, but I would like to see Courtland Sutton here long-term. Be great to see him retire as a Bronco, but on a budget, right? But at the end of the day, what I care most about is that he says he's going to be there. So I'm hopeful that that means that he's going to be on the roster. And that also means that our wide receiver core is going to be as good as it can be this year, which is most important for Bo Nix, in my opinion. So he also said this about Bo Nix. He says he has that leader mentality, the aura he carries and walks with. And I think Courtland Sutton knows a thing or two about leadership as well. I think he's been one of our best leaders in the locker room. And this is the year where we want to actualize some of that finally, right? So ultimately, I'm hopeful that something's going to change with this contract situation. It was weird a couple days ago, reading into Sean Payton's comments about I expect him to be there. I'm like, hey, is he just setting the expectations so the Broncos look better if he were to hold out? But Courtland came on here 48 hours later and said the same thing. So you got to think that both sides are feeling okay about where this is going. And I would imagine that you're going to see a slight adjustment, maybe not an extension or years added on or anything like that. But again, I feel like Courtland just wants a slight adjustment to contract. So y'all let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll go ahead and pull up our salary cap situation here if you give me 1 minute, and we can take a look at just what the Broncos wide receiver room looks like long term right now. So let me go ahead and switch this up real quick. Thanks for sticking with me. Oh, yeah, let's switch over to here. Hopefully this will look a little bit better. And yeah, as you can see, make a little adjustment on the fly there. As we go through here, you can take a look at the contracts. We see really Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, and Devon Vele, our rookies and second-year players, are the only people here in 2026 and beyond. So really interesting. Josh Reynolds, of course, is here for a couple of seasons. And Courtland Sutton, again, huge cap hit. His salary should be much less than the 17.8 million. His cap hit is 4, but again, that allowed us to navigate the cap earlier on in his career. So we'll see. None of this is guaranteed, so he could definitely be cut, even if we do guarantee more salary to him this year. That'll be interesting. Tim Patrick, kind of an approve it deal this year. Cap hit is pretty high, but he's making much less than this. I think it's close to the veteran minimum. And it would be nice to have an experienced veteran wide receiver in this room. Long term, again, if Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin can establish themselves as that wide receiver one, I think that's always ideal. And then you can have somebody coming in here as a wide receiver two that is Courtland Sutton that can provide that stability at the position group, one position group in which we have had a handful of a lot of injuries over the years. So we'll just have to see. I think that this is going to be something to keep an eye on going into next weekend or next week if a contract's going to be announced. I want to see Courtland Sutton here long term, but we can't just give away money. On the flip side, other players, other veteran players are going to be seeing and watching how the Broncos handle this to see if they are going to back one of their own in what I feel like is a fair and right ask on his end. That's how I feel about it. So y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, really do appreciate it. If you haven't seen my video earlier today, I went ahead and broke down what a day one install might look like for Bo Nix. And he went through, he had to prepare for 3 of these days when he was going on through his private workout with the Broncos the day after his pro day. So he had 1 day to basically on his own take in 3 days worth of Playbook installs. And I think you'll be rather impressed. The fact that he passed this with high grades shows the amount of information that he can take in at a very rapid pace. So again, thank you guys so much. Y'all be sure to smash that like and subscribe. We're on our way to 2,000 Broncos country. I'll be back again later. And as always, y'all, go Broncos.